Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Woman's Cave. And it's just me today, Winona. Oh, I remember to introduce myself. High five to me, and then high five to me, because I'm a narcissist. So I have to do it 2 times as much, because, otherwise my self-esteem doesn't feel right. Anyway, so I'm not going to have a lot of banter, because there is no Jade. And for all of you who've been with us for a long time, this is our auxiliary studio, and you only see it like 6 times every 3 years. Yep, this is our 3rd year, and this is the 6th time I've been in it. So, hey, 6 times every 3 years. Anyway, we wrote books. Go figure. That's what we do. I don't have all of them with me today. Jade had to use half of them for the other thing. So here we go. We wrote And I Thought Divorce Was Bad. This is our first book. It was awarded. Hey. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. And I Thought I Could Juggle It All. We thought we could, and then we found out you can drop a few balls. We also have the Misfit Guides, a sassy sway that leads to crooked footprints. And my favorite one, which I do not have with me in auxiliary studio, is the Misfit Guides, Cocktail Soirees, and the LBD. And I am the author of the Widow's Debt series. It's an interesting little crime noir kind of thing. We're also the founding editors of the 25 hottest authors, artists, and advocates magazine. And just in case you don't know, this is Dr. Noah Charney on the cover. Yes, he was nominated for a Pulitzer. Okay, so that's enough about me. Wait, no, it isn't, because on March the 16th, we have the Inspiration Women in Literature, Media, and Journalism Awards. Please come see that. And then also we have Just Right in Life, our docuseries on Amazon and Channel 18. Now, that's enough about me. For real this time. Even my narcissism is like, yeah, we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and say, wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm also a narcissist. No, not at all. My name's Nick Hennigan, and I am dazzling you with these glasses with the reflection. I'm in London, England, and I'm jack of all trade and master of none, but all in the writing department. And I wrote and directed and sort of now run a thing called the London Literary Pub Crawl, which takes in pubs around Soho and Fitzrovia, which is just north of Oxford Street, pubs frequented by famous people like sort of Dylan Thomas and George Orwell, a lot of between the war poets. And I also run a theatre company, and I've written a few plays and had a couple of books. And it's lovely being in your girl cave. I feel privileged. It's much prettier. I would normally be down the pub. I say it's a bit early for me. It's 5 o'clock, a bit early for me in the afternoon. But so I'm in my flat in Chiswick. But the girl cave looks very beautiful as well, with that flower arrangement behind you.
Yes. I wish I could pick it up and then show you the table and be like, dude, here's the antique table. Jade's mom was a connoisseur of antiques. So we have antiques, for you guys, it's really young, because I've been to England and they're like, no, this is from like when the Rome was here. And I was like, oh, shut up. We're just showing off now. But anyway, I couldn't say it because that's rude. And Americans apparently are rude. So I couldn't say it. I just thought it. Anyway.
Oh, no, we live in America. Yeah, we love it. I mean, the London Literary Pub Crawl started as a one-off for the London Olympics in 2012, but it's run by, we're all writers that run it, so we're not a travel company. We're nothing, which if you go to the London Literary Pub Crawl.com website, you'll see that we're also not an internet company. It's kind of one of the messiest websites probably in the internet world. But it was actually, we did it initially as it's a promenade theatre tour. So that's about, that's between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the group, because we just tend to chat and have a drink in some of the pubs that we go to, especially the famous ones. People like to drink where the Proles pub from George Orwell's 1984, for instance, which for the first 100 years of its life only had a beer license. So it takes that, but it was originally a one-off, and I missed the Olympics by 2 months. But we did it in August 2012, and it was just, again, this little LondonLiteraryPubCrawl.com website. And then the technology means people were able to book, and lots, especially Americans, and it's still true now, a lot of Americans come and join us. So I love Americans. And also I had a great time when I was over there a few years ago with a play that we were performing. They were and that's not, I'm not just saying that because you're here, it's absolutely true. Certainly all the Americans we've had on the literary pub crawl anyway have been lovely, really lovely, smart people.
Oh, that's nice. That's because we can hold our beer. Don't ask us to hold our liquor.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, the Guardian newspaper, I know you had a Guardian journalist on a little while ago, and they came and sort of did a review. And because I'm used to doing theatre, and in theatre you have what they call previews. So you put the show on and you open the doors and let people in, but you don't let the press in. So if the Guardian turned up for one of our previews, but because it's the Guardian, you don't turn them down. And the only real complaint, we've got a great review, the only real complaint was that there wasn't enough drinking. So we were able to put that right fairly easily. But it's more about the literature, and all these giants that are now known around the world were generally sort of fairly hard up and drinking in Soho and Fitzrovia because the rents were cheap. So that's where people got together. And I think it's still true. Well, it's certainly still true in London now. There's a group of about 5 or 6 of us who occasionally struggle. And if one of us has a success, then we all come together. We called it unofficially the Dean Street Shuffle because it's a street in Soho. And a friend of ours, in fact, he lodged with me in Birmingham in the English Midlands for about 3 or 4 years. They never paid me rent, but then that wasn't the deal. And we were so poor once we had noodles for 3 days, and he just sold a script to, I think it's Universal Pictures, for £180,000 or whatever it was. And I'm sure we spent probably half of that celebrating. So it still goes on, and it's a very sociable thing. And the Americans have been lovely people.
Oh, it's nice to know at least one Brit likes us.
No, I think most British people do. I mean, most real British people. And there is this kind of stereotypical thing of very rich, fat men and very thin women, and called Hiram B. Hackenbacker. And I do remember one poor chap when I was at Stratford upon Avon with a play that I had as well. Getting off a tour coach and him saying, we're in Stratford or Scotland, but that wasn't his fault. And now I think most people, when they talk about the special relationship, I think most English people like Americans. I mean, politically, there's all sorts of things happening in the world at the moment, isn't there? But generally, I think most English people like Americans. I
was about to divert into the political stuff, and then I said, no. Let me come on back. Because I was going to say, for our Donald Trump, you guys have Theresa May. So what can I say? You guys can't say much.
And Brexit, what's all that about? Blimey, oh, God. London voted to stop. Most of London voted to stay in Europe. So and there aren't too many. But God, that's for other people.
Anyway, moving back. You said plays. You write plays.
Yeah, I actually started writing sort of professionally in 1992, don't you know? Oh, God bless you. And when I wrote a version of Shakespeare's Henry V, which is one of his biggest plays, and I wrote it for one person, for one man. Initially, to be honest, between me and you, I thought I'd write it for myself and perhaps perform it myself. I saw Kenneth Branagh did a film of Henry V, which is good if you want to sample Shakespeare without being too overwhelmed by it all. And he put a lot of modern emotion, and I thought, oh, this is an interesting idea. So I wrote a play for one man, and we did it in Birmingham, which is it's Britain's second city in the English Midlands, about 125 miles from Stratford upon Avon. Most people know it there. And it got picked up by a company, commercial management. And it was one of those moments in the bar at the Midlands Arts Centre in Birmingham where this guy, he was managing a comedian called Jasper Carrott, who was very famous over here in the 1970s and 80s, and still is actually. Most people know Jasper Carrott. And he said to me, that was really good. We'd like to take you to the Edinburgh Festival. And I went, oh, what's the Edinburgh Festival? And so that was in 1992. And I was just, I don't know, have you ever been to the Edinburgh Festival?
The Edinburgh Festival? No, I got invited last year, but I couldn't make it.
Oh, it's massive.
The Edinburgh Festival and the invitation to Lake Como. My life is horrible. I never get invited anywhere.
I think Como's probably a bit nicer. I don't know. Well, maybe not, actually, thinking about it. But it's the biggest arts festival in the world, Edinburgh. And there are 5,000 shows a day in 2 square miles. It's massive, massive, massive. And I was so blown away by that, I then wanted to set up a theatre company called Maverick, which in fact we've even got our own cups. Look at that. How posh is that, Maverick Theatre Company? And to create the Edinburgh Festival ethos in Birmingham, because there was no fringe theatre and very little sort of edgier theatre. And we did that for 10 years. And then I came to London to do a master's in creative producing. And the literary pub crawl came about because a mate of mine said, if you want a cheap pint, go to the Fitzroy Tavern. So I went to the Fitzroy Tavern in Fitzrovia, and we were sitting in what was called the Writers and Artists Bar, which was pretty evocative. I thought, oh, and there were all these. I was nursing my cheap pint because I was at a university, not very rich, and looking at these pictures on the walls of all these famous writers who are now known around the world, but were pictured in this pub. And I thought, if they all came here, there must be some stories to tell. So I did some research online and then went to the British Library, and sure enough, there were. So I came up with this 7-hour script. So the London Literary Pub Crawl was actually written as a performance script for 2 actors. But then Henry V did quite well, and then I wrote a play about 4 kids growing up on a council estate, which is my background. Would you call it a housing project, I suppose, in America? Which is sort of...
Okay, so that finally answers that question, because I kept hearing about that the last time I was there. They're like, and they're from this, and I was like, and they're from what now?
Yeah.
I don't understand what that. Oh, okay. So thank you. Now I know, like, context of like 6 conversations is now understood.
I know, it's fun, isn't it? Winston Churchill, sometimes we chat on the Literary Pub Crawl. Winston Churchill once said about Britain and the UK, was it 2 great nations divided by a common tongue? And I kind of know what he meant the very first time I was in a bar in New York and I asked for a fag. It's got to have a fag. And it, because it's connotated, cigarette. Yeah, it's not, doesn't mean the same in America, does it?
No, no it doesn't.
No, but
great way to get punched, especially if you're in a gay bar.
Yeah, well, I would expect to be now. I know now. There's some great gay bars in. I mean, I'm a straight bloke, but there's some great gay bars in London as well now, in Old Compton Street. There's some funny nights. But so I did that then, Henry V, and that did quite well. And then I wrote this play called Pals about 4 kids growing up on a council estate, which I think is going to go to Edinburgh this year. I had a phone conversation just yesterday. I think that's going to appear at the Edinburgh Festival. And then I did last year a version of, we did Henry V, Lion of England again, and I wrote a version of Hamlet. And the lovely actor, Sir Derek Jacobi, he was known for I, Claudius and stuff. He recorded the voice of old Hamlet. And they were one-man shows, but I used a young woman, actually, a young woman actor. She was great. And we did that in Edinburgh last year, which went quite well. And then there's a few. Yeah, so it's been an interesting ride, and I've edited a book. I mean, if you like, there's others also. I don't know if you know spoken word things. This isn't my book. It's called In Your Ear, and it's a bunch of guys that get together in Soho, and it's basically storytelling. And I noticed I've just started a storytelling session. Well, I asked, it's called In Your Ear. I don't know when they're doing it now, because I've got this lovely book now. Julia Bell, she's involved with the creative writing at Birkbeck University. It's a lovely little book. But the one we're doing it's the first Saturday of every month. It's a spoken word event. We've got this rather brilliant, I won't bore you with the detail, but there's some great acts. Because I was a bit nervous about it working after the Edinburgh Festival. So we basically and I want storytelling. I mean, I think the more connected we get through the internet and through, the whole stuff that we're doing, the more it's important that people can just meet face to face and tell stories. And we've had some great storytellers, and they come in and they'll do 10 minutes. And the only rule is it should be your story and it should be true, but it can be about anything, or it could be a song, or it could be a poem. And because we're in London, already word spreading, and people are now turning up to practice. If they've got a new poem they want to try, or there was a lovely girl who was talking about the death of her father. She'd never read in public before, but she told it from the point of view of being the antibiotics that were working through. I mean, it was a weird and wonderful thing. We've got children's people. We've got a guy who's, I can't even tell you the title. The title, we're going to have to change the title, but he talks about kissing the bottom of some very famous American actor, and so it's kind of a weird mix. But the nicest thing, it's very, very supportive. So far, we've done 3, and as I say, we're starting again in February, the first Saturday of the month in Fitzrovia, and it's kind of nice to do. And then there's another. This is another book that I actually called Confessions of a Butcher Boy, which is about a boy growing up in Birmingham again. It's all kind of stories, sort of working class stories, if you like. And there's a thing called Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've heard of Peaky Blinders in America. It's a big drama over here about a bunch of gangsters in the. It's very big on Netflix at the moment. A bunch of gangsters coming back from the First World War. And this guy there he is actually. This guy grew up, Norman Rayburn. He sort of grew up in that period of time. And his book's almost Dickensian. And he wasn't a writer, but he decided to write this down for his family. And I actually went out with his granddaughter. And still do. And he gave me the manuscript, and so I edited it, and that's selling quite well all around the world, again because of the internet, So the writing's very important. I mean, if you're into Shakespeare as well, this is quite an interesting. This version's quite good. The RSC.
All right, that's just too big for most Americans. Just let that.
Well, actually, funny you should say that, because well, I'm working on a Romeo and Juliet at the moment, and fortunately, this guy Jonathan Bates, he does some really good notes on Shakespeare. But fortunately, the whole lot, all the Shakespeares are in here, but you can buy them individually. So I've got the individual one of Romeo and Juliet that I'm working with at the moment, and of course, you've got to watch the film because films do really versions of Shakespeare as well. So
Mr. Hannigan, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry I'm cutting you short. I know.
No, that's right. No, thank you very much for inviting me into the very beautiful Women's Cave. And I know you've got a busy day today, so I hope it goes well. Come and see us next time you're over.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was just about to ask because I'm coming over in July. I'll be over there from the 19th to the 31st. So I'd love to come hang out. Like, see the theater.
Come on the literary pub crawl. It goes at 5 o'clock every Saturday night. The LondonLiteraryPubCrawl.com is the website, or just bung us an email. You got me email.
We are going to come. Actually, I have a group of authors coming with me this year. So, yeah, we're definitely going to come.
Oh, perfect. Authors love it because there's a lot of, especially new authors, because there's a lot of stories that relate to these very famous writers starting off. And do.
Okay, so quickly, tell us where we can find out more information. What's the website? Although I know you guys own a tech company, but just tell us what the website is anyway.
Yeah, we don't own a tech company at all. Yes, probably, Maverick-theatre.com might be the easiest. Maverick-theatre.com, Maverick-theatre.com is probably easiest. Or the LondonLiteraryPubCrawl.com. There's all sorts of stuff on there, maps and books and films and videos, and it's a right mess.
But it's a wonderful mess. It's very educational. When I looked at it, I was like, this is so English. I don't know what to do. But and I'm being stereotypical so badly today. I've called Americans dumb and don't read, and I'm saying it's so English. Anyway, so if you take offense to this, leave it in the comments. I'm not going to read them. Anyway, let me wrap this up. So I'm Mona, and Jade is off now. She's over there.
I'll give you my best.
There you go.
Hello, Jade. I emailed her, I think.
And we're the End I Thought ladies. You can find everything that we're up to. andwethought.com. You can. Hello. And just remember, you guys, that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and Jade. Bye-bye.